NHL regular season recap night 89, a whole bunch of games tonight. The first is between the New Jersey Devils and Tampa Bay Lightning, a game in which, surprise, surprise, Andrei Vasilevskiy is the better goaltender than Vitek Vanacek. Some weird goal scores for the Lightning, but in the first, Dawson Mercer opens things up before Luke Glendening scores 2 to make it 2-1 Lightning after 1. In the second, Braden Point and Jesper Bratt both score, making it 3-2 after 2. In the third, Nate Bastian ties it, kind of a weird one as well. About 3 minutes in to make it 3-3. We head all the way to overtime where Darren Radish is the hero. Again, some weird goal scores for the Lightning, sparing Braden Point in this one. Andrei Vasilevskiy, 27 of 30. Vitek Vanacek, 16 of 20. Not a great night for him, a good night for the Devils in general, but need a couple saves here or there. The Bolts get the win because they couldn't, 4-3 in overtime. The Carolina Hurricanes taking on a very much handicapped Anaheim Ducks team without Trevor Zegras. Pavel Mintyukov, of course, now Jamie Drysdale traded away, so a very depleted team that also loses John Gibson mid-game. In the first, it's Brady Shea and Andrei Svechnikov. In the second, Lundestrom brings the game within 1 before Martinook spreads the lead again, and then Strome and Vetrano both score to tie it, before Nason and Drury both score again to make it 5-3 headed to the third. In the second, though, Pyotr Kochetkov also got injured. Antti Ranta comes in relief. He faces just 3 shots, stops all 3 of them. And in the third period, Seth Jarvis adds 1 more to make it a 6-3. But as you'd expect, a win here for the Hurricanes over a struggling Ducks team, to say the least. The Vancouver Canucks visiting the Pittsburgh Penguins, continuing their East Coast road trip, and they once again find victory in this one, largely thanks to a pretty strong first period where Brock Besser scores 2 and Elias Pettersson scores 1. Marcus Pettersson scores his first of the year for the Penguins, so it's 3-1 Canucks after 1. In the second, Sid brings it within 1, and he scores again in the third to tie it with just 29 seconds to play. But in the overtime, it's Elias Pettersson with a nice little 5-hole play that ends up being the overtime winner. He has 2 goals and 2 assists in this one. Besser, of course, with the 2 goals of his own. Vachidemko, 32 of 35, a pretty good game for him as usual. Tristan Jarry, 19 of 20 in his appearance. He came in relief of Alex Nedeljkovic, who had not the best first period. Solid win here for the Canucks. They continue to roll through the East Coast. Pretty sure most Eastern Conference teams will be happy to not see them come back for a good bit. The Kraken taking on the Washington Capitals, and this Kraken team continues to roll while Washington continues to sputter down the standings. In the first, it's Ty Cartier and Alex Wenberg that make it 2-0 after 1. Max Pacioretty gets his first as a Capital in the second before Justin Schultz scores with 1:40 to play in the second, making it 3-1. In the third period, Adam Larsson tacks on a fourth, making it 4-1 Seattle. That would be where the final score stood. Joey Daccord, 25 of 26. He continues his stretch of excellence here. Darcy Kemper, though, 19 of 23. Not the best night for him, but he'll rebound. I'm sure it's a 4-1 victory for Seattle. The Sharks taking on the Montreal Canadiens, and after a lengthy losing streak, the Sharks finally get on the right side of the win column. In the first period, Luke Cunnin and Fabian Zetterlund score goals about 12 minutes apart before Brendan Gallagher scores one only 20 seconds after Fabian Zetterlund's goal. It's 2-1 Sharks after 1. In the second, it's a Kochuk with his first of the year that makes it 3-1 San Jose. We go through most of the third before Josh Anderson scores with about 3.5 to go to make it 3-2 and make things interesting, but it was not enough to get them tied up. Sam Monton, both 32 of 35 tonight. Mackenzie Blackwood just marginally better, 33 of 35, but that margin is just enough for the victory for San Jose. The Oilers taking on the Detroit Red Wings, and this one was probably closer than it should have been considering the 2 teams involved, but Alex Lyon held the Red Wings in there big time tonight. Andrew Kopp opens the scoring in the third period. We didn't have any goals in the first 2, largely thanks to Alex Lyon. Anyway, Andrew Kopp opens the scoring in the third, about 3.5 in. McDavid ties it about 9 minutes in. Zach Hyman scores after that, and then Oli Mata with about 4 minutes to play gets his second of the year to force overtime, where Darnell Nurse ends up being the hero on an unassisted effort. It's a 3-2 overtime victory for Edmonton. Calvin Pickard just 15 of 17. Alex Lyon 44 of 47. He was fantastic tonight for the Red Wings and was frankly the only reason this game was not 5 or 6-2 instead of 3-2. A good effort from him. The rest of the Wings needed to step it up big time, but just not quite enough. They do get a point out of it, which is lucky to begin with, but it is a 3-2 win for the Oilers. The Senators taking on the Sabres in a battle between the 2 worst teams in the Atlantic, and apparently the Sabres are not that. The Senators, once again, just cannot get anything going, cannot get a lead, cannot hold the lead, etc., etc., etc. Buffalo wins this one by a final score of 5-3. UPL, the better of the two goalies, he stops 25 of 28. Korpisalo, 21 of 24. Lots of goals in the first here. Peterka, Tarasenko, and then 2 from Thompson make it 3-1 Buffalo after 1. In the second, Peyton Krebs makes it 4-1. Giroux gets 2 in the third to make things close, but Dylan Cousins, with the 3 seconds remaining empty netter, makes it a 5-3 final for Buffalo. Again, I don't think either of these teams are making it to the playoffs at this point in the year, but one of them's got to get something going. Buffalo gets the win tonight. Maybe that can spark something for them. The Kings taking on the Florida Panthers, and this one ended up being a pretty exciting yet low-scoring game. Trevor Moore opens the scoring in the first. In the second, it's Sam Bennett and Drew Doughty, both with their 8th of the season. In the third period, Matt Tkachuk ties us at 2 with just over 2 minutes to play. And in the overtime, with less than a second to go, Sam Reinhart with a typical grimy Sam Reinhart goal right in front of the net. Matt Tkachuk right in Cam Talbot's face, gets pushed off at the end. It's perfect Florida Panthers hockey, as we've come to expect. Bobrovsky was very good in this one, 31 of 33. Cam Talbot equally as good, 38 of 41, but just not quite good enough for the victory. Again, this was a very, very entertaining game. If somehow this ends up being a Stanley Cup final preview, I would not mind seeing 7 games of this at all. In this round, though, it's 3-2 for the Panthers. The Leafs taking on the Islanders, and as per usual, when the Leafs visit Long Island, it's always an interesting game, and tonight was no exception. Kyle Palmieri opens the scoring just 40 seconds in on the power play. Bobby McMahon ties it about halfway through the first with just his 2nd of the year. In the second, the Leafs actually extend their lead to 3-1 goals from Matthews, his 32nd and 33rd of the year, both even strength, but Romanov and Bo Horvat both score once each for the Islanders to tie it before the end of the second period. No goals in the third, and in the overtime, just 20 seconds in, Matt Barzal notches his 4th point of the night with the overtime game-winning goal from Noah Dobson, who also had 4 points, all of them coming in assists. It's a huge game for the two of them. Ilya Sorokin also very good, 32 of 35 for him. It's a really big win for the Islanders as they look to scrap and claw to stay in the mix in the Metro Division. The Rangers taking on the St. Louis Blues, and much like the last game, Jordan Kyrou had a massive game in this one. He has a hat trick, no assists for him tonight, but one of the, if not the main reason that the Blues won this game. Adam Fox actually opens the scoring just under 2 minutes in, but Kyrou scores twice in the first and again in the third. Braden Assad had a power play goal in between there, but who cares? Vinny Trocheck does make it 4-2, but then Pavel Buchnevich with the empty netter, and he slams a stick against the glass. I'm not exactly sure what all that was about. I didn't get to go check out the post game, see if there was any information on that. But nonetheless, it's a big win for the Blues. Igor Shesterkin struggles yet again in this one, just 15 of 19, a 789 save percentage. Jordan Binnington, however, 40 of 42, a 952 save percentage, a very, very good outing from him, and once again, a big win for St. Louis. The Blackhawks visiting the Jets, and the Hawks were so close to a huge upset in this one. Connor Murphy with the lone goal for them coming a few minutes into the second period, and it took the Jets all the way until the 56th minute of this game to get one past Peter Mrazek, who had a pretty outstanding outing of his own. But Gabe Vilardi scored 16:31 into the third to tie the game at 1, and Nick Ehlers scores just over a minute to play to make it 2-1. That's where the final sticks. Peter Mrazek, again, pretty good. 26 of 28. Laurent Brossoit with the start for the Jets. He goes 20 of 21. Both goalies pretty good in this one. A low-scoring affair, kind of surprisingly so, at least for, the Jets, considering they're playing one of the worst, if not the worst teams in the league. Nonetheless, they get a much-expected win, improve to 28-9-4, and remain in first in the Central Division. The Flames taking on the Coyotes, and a big first period powers the Flames to a victory in this one. It ends up being a 6-2 final. They score 4 in the first, though. It's Backlund, Sharangovich, Anderson, and Coleman all tallying. Lawson Krause does score one in there to make it 4-1 after 1. But Karel Vejmelka only saw through the first 12 shots of this game. He gives up 4 on those 12 shots, a 667 save percentage. He gets yanked in favor of Connor Ingram, who gives up 2 more goals on the 18 shots he saw in the remainder of the game. In the second period, Clayton Keller did get 1 to make it 4-2, but then in the third period, Yegor Sharangovich scores 2 more to make it a hat-trick for him, his 16th and 17th of the year, and again, a 6-2 final in favor of Calgary. Markstrom continues his stretch of pretty good play. 32 of 34, a 941 save percentage for him. This is a big win for the Flames. They're looking to climb this Pacific, as I've mentioned pretty much every time I talk about this team. They can rally some wins together. That will be huge for them. They improve to 19, 18, and 5. They're in 6th now. They got to catch the Kraken and the Oilers, who are both red hot. The Vegas Golden Knights taking on the Boston Bruins in another game in which we could very well see a very late round matchup, of course, between these two teams. It would have to be a cup final. Vegas coming off their game the other night against Colorado, and they get to meet Boston because why not have a schedule from hell? They get it done in this one, though. It's a 2-1 final. No goals until the third period, where Jack Eichel opens the scoring on the power play, his 19th of the year. About 5 minutes after Eichel's tally, Matt Grzelcyk tallies just his second of the year to knot things at 1. We head all the way to overtime, where Alex Pietrangelo ends up being the hero. Jack Eichel knots a second point on this one with the secondary assist. Mark Stone with the other assist on the game-winning goal. Both goalies, as expected in a low-scoring game like this, also pretty solid. Logan Thompson, 32 of 33. Jeremy Swayman, 23 of 25. I have not checked in on Linus Ullmark to see what his status is. I know he got hurt a few nights ago in the Bruins game against the Coyotes, so hopefully not too long-term, but nonetheless, Jeremy Swayman pretty good in this one despite the losing effort. But that's going to be it for NHL regular season recap. Night 89. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow. I think just 2 games on a Friday, which is so lame, but it is what it is. We'll talk to you guys then.